As a solopreneur, I cut corners everywhere I can without hurting the quality. One of the tools I use for this is called TextBlaze, and I'm going to show you here how I use it. So basically, it will exchange a keyword of a kind with some text or macros or something like that. So I'm going to show you some of the things I've made here. So for example, I use it a lot for my emails. So instead of writing the code for first name, for example, which can be different from program to program, sometimes it's those curled paragraphs and with first name or first or something like it inside. And there's always the risk that you type something wrong. So I use TextBlaze to remember this for me. So all I'm doing when I have to write an email, I just type /name and it will output the code for first name in my email. If I want something more complicated for emails, I have this form output. I'm going to show you how it looks. Try it out. When I type form, I can fill out what I want here. So this first one is for my list. So if I want to put it on a list for people in internet marketing or writers or new, I have this all coded into TextBlaze. So let's say I want writers, and there's not much to change here. This is the tag, so it has as default tag 1, which is a buyer. But I could also use a new tag. In that case, I would just use XX here. And I can have several tags. So if I want 1, 2, and XX, for example, then I add that. And nothing more to do. I'm going to insert. And now I have the form code that I can use wherever I need this form. This saves me a lot of time because it's impossible to remember all this, or maybe not impossible, but pretty much close to it. So this is one of the more time-saving ones, but I also use it for things like remembering. So let me find one down here for Warrior Plus, for example. When I have an affiliate product I promote, I use this inside Warrior Plus. It will help me track the people who buy. So I use this, but I can never remember where I have the file and what's the name of it. So instead of remembering, I just save my RAM for something more important, and then I write /AFF API because it's affiliate API file, and then I have it all here. I have decided what to put in front of the keyword here, and in most cases I use, or maybe in all cases here, I use the /. Yeah, I think I have. But let's make a new one so you can see how I do it. So we have test snippets over here, and I use them when I want to try out some new, because some of those shortcuts can be very advanced. So I want to test it out first before I make it final. It doesn't really matter. I could make it in here where it belongs, but I like to do it in test first. So now we'll make a test. So I've clicked the test snippets up here. I click the plus to create a new one, and it will, as default, write new snippet. And this is where I can change the name of it to say something which will explain to me what it's all about. So what should we do here? We could have the date for today, for example. We could write hi, and then have a space for a name. We could type in a name, and then we could add the date. So I will write here as the label, date, and my name. Okay. What should we use as a shortcut? Like I told you, you can decide what to have first. You can have hashtag. I used to have that, but then hashtags got modern, and it ruined it every time I wanted to write a hashtag to tag something when I used it already for a shortcut. So I stopped using that because it got complicated. and I've used the $sign because you don't normally use the $sign in front of a word, for example. Let's just say word, for example. Then this could be the shortcut I would type and use for this I'm going to write down here. So let's call this $sign and date, for example. And then I'm going to write down what I need to have as text, and I'm going to use macros from over here to create the rest. So do we want the date first? That is probably the smartest. So I'm going to click date and time because I can't just type in the date over here, because that wouldn't make sense. Then it would, every time it would write the date of today in emails or letters or whatever I'm going to use it. So they have several time formats over here. The long form, April 1st, 2026, for example, short, full date, etc. And you can also choose if you have the time inside, and you can use 24-hour time or 12-hour time with AM and PM. So I'm just going to use the long full date here. So it will insert this code, and when I use this, it will insert the correct date. So I'm going to make a couple of line breaks here and then write hi. And then I want a field to fill out for the name. So I find that over here too. We have text field, for example. So I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to give it a name, a label. So we call that first name. And we could, if you often, for example, write to the same person, you could put that name in here as default, or you can just leave it open like it is here. So I'm going to click insert, and then I'm going to add a couple of line breaks more. So now I'm ready to write whatever email I want to write or letter. So let's test it out. Try it out over here. So I'm going to type $sign and date, and here we go. It comes up with this little form. It shows me the date up here, and then it says hi, third name. So we could write hi Bobby, insert, and then it would insert it over here, and it can insert it everywhere where you can type text. That means inside form fields, inside emails, letters, Telegram, anywhere you want it to be. So that was one test. One thing I use it for too, which is very handy because I sometimes have to write things in Hebrew, and for that I need to shift to a Hebrew keyboard, and it takes time, and it's very often the same things I have to type. For example, my name in Hebrew, or my last name, or my zip code and road name, etc. So I'm going to show you here how it works. So instead of typing in Hebrew, I can just type my code here, /Brit, and it will type my name in Hebrew. This alone saves me a lot of time. So yeah, I have created those folders over here to keep track of my shortcuts. They are not necessary. You can just have them all in one big area, but I think it makes it easier for me to find them. So when I need something again, if I'm setting up a product on Warrior Plus, for example, I know that all my shortcuts are down here. So in case I've forgotten one of them, I can just click on it and see what does this say, for example. Then I can see my shortcut over here, /terms for refund terms, and then I can use this inside the form on Warrior Plus. So there are many, many ways you can use this. Let me go back to the test snippets here and just show you. I won't make them all for you, but I can show you over here what you can do. You can have something set in your clipboard, for example, and when you use this, let's click down here, click clipboard, then it will paste in what you had in your clipboard. We already seen the text field. I'll just add it here, label for text, like this. And we have, let's go back. There we go. We have a drop-down menu. You saw that in function in my form script, but you get to choose several values, and then let's just do it. Choice A, B, and C. I think I need to change. Do I need to type it in? I think not. Then you can give it a label, test lockdown. And you can have multiple if you want to do that. That's what I had before for the tags for my email forms. Or you can, this is optional, or you can tell it how many columns you want. Let's just do a simple one. So if I test this for DU, then you can see apparently I had something on my clipboard here, cut liver and 6 eggs. I have a label for text here, and I have a choice. I can pick between choice A, B, and C. Let's just take choice A and then insert, and then it will insert it over here. If we go on, and the reason why it suggested B is because the radio button next to B was turned in. So you can choose a default for any of them you like, or you can just let it be on the second one. So I'm going to click back here. So now I have the list up again. So you have a formula that is, like you see, you can write a simple formula, or you can use fields for it. So this is a bit more advanced. I'm not going to go into this today, but this can be very helpful if you want to make something that can, for example, calculate prices for you. So if you have an email you're going to write to somebody who bought from you, then you can add the formula here, and you can simply type in, for example, that you sold 10 of a specific kind, and it will calculate for you the price, etc. Everything you program into it. Date and time, we already tried. We have clipboard again down here, and that's because the top one you saw over here was those I've used frequently. So we have forms. There are several options for forms, and it's a good thing there are tutorials for using everything of this. And there's also a forum where you can ask questions, and they helped me with some very advanced formulas because I didn't know the coding language, so they're very helpful. So we have a date time I used. We have click element, so you can add that to your shortcuts. You can add key presses, which is helpful. For example, if you are filling out a form online, then you can add a key press, the tab key, enter key, space key, up arrow, down arrow, function key press, etc. So this helps if you're filling out a form where you have to go from one field to the next, for example, either with tab or with enter or something like that. You can pause between steps. So if you want to wait a second, then you can type in how many seconds you want it to wait. This is helpful if you're doing something online where there are, let's say, bot trackers or something like that that doesn't have like this if you're too fast with what you're doing online, because then they think rightfully that it's a bot that is doing it, and that's even if you are not out to scam anything or do anything wrong. Then sometimes it's good to have a wait a second or a few seconds. So we have the formula we already seen. You have if-else condition, which I have used for something. But you use it if this is true, then this happens, and otherwise something else happens. So I don't remember which one it was I used it for, so I can't show you right now. It's not important. If you want me to make a tutorial about in-depth of some of those features, let me know. We have an error message, and we have repeat. Those are more dynamic logic. That means that this depends on the input you give to the shortcut. And then we have some TextBlaze, which I haven't used, but you can in fact use it for tables and stuff like that. So this is something I should look into because I love to save time with shortcuts like this. You can import snippets and check snippet properties, node, website, user properties. And then you have command packs, randomize. I've used that for random quote over here, for example. You see that's the same symbol here. So I have pasted several text snippets in here into the phrases. The first one here is, for example, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or, let's see, 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. Henry Ford. Then the next one, consistency doesn't guarantee success, blah, blah, blah. So if I test it out, then you can see it just doesn't just take the first and then go on. Let's say cookie. The future belongs to those who can master the art of focus, Dan Coe. So let's say, well, that one is, it is down here. So it picked a random quote among the phrases I've put in here. And you can use that for many helpful things. And this is one of the features I really like. In fact, I like most of what I've done over here. So this little tool, I use it every day and I use it for so many things and it saves me so much time. It's really one of my favorite shortcuts. So get more command packs. That's, you can go and fetch them. Let's just click. And then you can add command packs for all those things. The randomize was the one I had already gotten here. Capitalize matches a phrase to the same capitalization the shortcut was typed. And you have LinkedIn, command to speed up your work. Be careful about LinkedIn. I wouldn't use it there. I wouldn't use, that's true. I have used LinkedIn a bit, but it can be risky because LinkedIn is picky. And then you have Gmail, where you can add custom snippets with the name or email of the person you are responding to, which is very helpful. Again, it's a little thing, but it saves you time every time you use something like that. So I hope this was helpful and gave you some inspiration for saving time and energy especially, and that you like this shortcut. And if you have anything in mind, then let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do to help you out. So see you soon in the next video.